A midnight deadline, a 4-hour destruction window, and a threat that could reshape the entire Middle East. The President of the United States is warning Iran, make a deal or face total devastation. And tonight, the clock is running out. The president has issued a stark ultimatum to Tehran: reach an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face the destruction of Iran's most critical infrastructure. According to the president, the entire operation could be completed in just 4 hours. His words at the White House press room left no room for ambiguity. The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. They're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone ages. The dramatic press conference came after the successful rescue of an American serviceman whose fighter jet went down over Iran last week. The president appeared alongside the First Lady and celebrated the recovery with Easter festivities on the White House lawn. But behind the celebration, the tone turned deeply serious. The president has sent contradictory signals throughout this 5-week conflict, at times suggesting the war is nearly over, while at others threatening to intensify the military campaign. When pressed on whether the U.S. was winding down operations, his answer was blunt. "I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell. It depends on what they do." A key bridge just outside Tehran was destroyed by American bombs last week, a strike that drew immediate condemnation from international legal observers. Deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure like bridges and power plants could constitute a war crime under international law. And it would inflict severe punishment on ordinary Iranian civilians who have no role in their government's decisions. Officials insisted that intercepted communications show Iranian citizens welcoming the bombing campaign, but that stands in sharp contrast to what ordinary Iranians themselves are saying. I think more and more people in Iran have realized that Trump doesn't care about them at all. I hate him from the bottom of my heart, and those who support him too. It feels like we're sinking deeper and deeper into a swamp. What can we do as ordinary people? We can't stop him. I don't see a bright future for Iranians at the end of this. With all these attacks, Iran won't be a place we can live in anymore. Meanwhile, the president confirmed that negotiations between the U.S. and Iran are actively underway. He is demanding that any agreement include the reopening of international shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz. I can tell you that we have an active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. But even as diplomats talk, the bombs have not stopped falling, and the U.S. says the campaign will intensify as a deadline approaches. There are now just 27 hours remaining until the latest presidential deadline expires. After that point, the president says it could take just 4 hours to destroy the majority of Iran's national infrastructure. It is worth noting that previous deadlines set during this 5-week conflict have come and gone, with threats of devastating retaliation followed by last-minute extensions. What has remained consistent throughout is the president's growing frustration with NATO allies, and particularly with the United Kingdom, for refusing to offer military support in this conflict. Turning now to Israel, at least 8 people have been injured after Iranian strikes, including attacks using cluster munitions, hit several locations around Tel Aviv. In the northern city of Haifa, emergency teams recovered the bodies of 4 people killed in a missile strike on a residential building the previous day. This is a war fought from the air and felt on the ground. The bodies of the Gershkovitz family were recovered from their basement apartment in Haifa. An elderly couple, their son, his wife. Their apartment block was struck by an Iranian missile, and it took search teams 18 hours to reach them. The missile did not explode. We tried to intercept it. There were issues with that. We are still investigating. It destroyed almost 50% of the building. Weeks into this conflict, Iran continues to fire on Israeli territory. The real target of these strikes is Israeli confidence, and it only takes one missile on one building to shatter it. Israel's prime minister celebrated what he described as significant military achievements inside Iran, claiming the regime there was weaker than it had ever been. But recent polling suggests that the overwhelming public support for this war among Jewish Israelis is beginning to erode. Quote, Israelis have learned that they can endure more than they thought, but there's growing skepticism over big promises. Hamas still controls large portions of Gaza. Hezbollah is still standing in Lebanon.
And even after everything that's happened in Iran, the regime is still standing and still fighting back. Israeli forces are simultaneously fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon, under orders to use Gaza as a military model for their operations there. Ultimately, it will be the United States, not Israel, that decides when the war in Iran comes to an end. But Israelis, already encircled by unresolved conflicts on multiple fronts, are now asking a harder question. What will any of this change in their own long, unfinished conflict with Tehran?